Hello and welcome to the Northrend Beasts strategy guide brought to you by WoWGuidesNow.com. In this video, I'll first explain the main abilities of the Northrend Beasts encounter, followed by a full 25-man raid encounter footage. For more information and discussion on the topic, please click the link in the movie description to be redirected to WoWGuidesNow.com. The Northrend Beasts encounter consists of 3 different phases, each opposing you with different bosses. Phase 1 faces you with Gormak. Gormak requires 2 tanks rotation because he puts a nasty DOT on the tank called Impale. Make sure you switch the tanks every 5 stacks or so of the debuff. Aside from that, Gormak stomps, interrupting and silencing close by players, so healers and range should stay away from him. Every once in a while, Gormak will throw an ad called Snowball on a random player. Snowball will cling to that player's back and start attacking the raid. Your ranged DPS should kill him because that player can't attack him himself. Phase 2 consists of 2 bosses simultaneously, Acid Maw and Dreadscale. Acid Maw and Dreadscale each need to be tanked with a different tank, facing away from the raid because they do a cone-shaped AoE in front of them. Acid Maw will start the fight immobile and half buried into the ground, while Dreadscale will move as usual. Acid Maw hits may coat the target with paralyzing poison, and Dreadscale's attacks, which will probably be on the tank, will surround the player with a fire AoE. Players with a paralyzing poison should remove it by standing inside the AoE effect of the players that got hit by Dreadscale. Because of this, you should kill Acid Maw first, so you will not get players paralyzed without the option of removing it. Every once in a while, the 2 bosses will switch roles, the mobile one becomes immobile and vice versa. Pay close attention as gas clouds will be placed on the ground. You will need to move away from them. When one of them dies, the other one receives an enrage buff, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Phase 3 faces you against Ice Howl. Spread as much as possible around Ice Howl and tank him in the middle of the room. Ice Howl will stomp occasionally and knock back all the melee around him. He also casts Arctic Breath AoE in a cone shape in front of him that will freeze and damage players. Be prepared for a massive heal when that happens. His most dangerous ability is Massive Crash, where he will jump in the middle of the room and knock back all the players to the walls of the room and stun them. When that happens, pay close attention. He will target a random player and jump back to prepare for a charge on that player. When that happens, the stun will be removed and all the raid will receive a round speed buff to allow players to quickly run away from his path. Do so or else you will be killed. If Ice Howl doesn't hit anyone, he will smash against the walls and be stunned and receive extra damage. That's the perfect time for a DPS cooldown activation as well as Bloodlust and Heroism. Let's switch to the encounter footage. Gormak is up first and he is being pulled to the middle of the arena. Notice how healers and range keep far away from him so to not get interrupted by his stomp ability. The small fire spots indicate that snowballs already start spawning and some ranged DPS turn to deal with them. Here I am turning to deal with one snowball that got attached to one of the melee, and you can already see another one being thrown onto one of the healers, therefore he will be my next target. The rest of the phase is pretty much more of the same thing, so I'm gonna speed this up. Next up are Dreadscale and Acid Maw. We start DPS focusing Acid Maw, he's the stationary one at the start of the fight. Notice they are both being tanked facing away from the raid to avoid as much as possible of their acid and fire effect in front of them. Green players indicate that they have been coated with paralyzing poison and are greatly slown. They all move to the tank of Dreadscale and step into the fire AoE got from Dreadscale's attacks. It's switching time, which means now Dreadscale will be immobile and Acid Maw will be mobile. Notice the poison clouds on the floor and keep pulling bosses away from them. Once Acid Maw is dead, Dreadscale becomes enraged, but we just tank spank him until he's finished as well. The encounter finishes with Ice Howl. We spread around the room. Ice Howl knocks back the melee and immediately casts Arctic Breath. Another melee knockback, and then it's massive crash time. As we're all thrown to the walls, we carefully watch to see who he's targeting. As soon as he leaps back, we start running to avoid his charge path. Icehouse smashes against the bare walls and gets stunned. We hurry up and do bloodlust to burn him as much as possible. At this point, Arctic Breath can do massive amounts of damage because the raid is relatively clumped up together, so healers should be prepared for that. And the rest of the fight pretty much repeats itself. The Northrend Beasts encounter is a relatively easy one. Your greatest challenge will be to quickly switch between phases without much preparation time. But as long as everyone in the raid knows the strats, it should be no problem. And that concludes the Northrend Beasts strategy guide. As always, you can click the link in the movie description for further details and discussion on the topic. I would like to thank Resurrection Guild, and until next time, have a great raid and killer drops.